We're live. Welcome to another live coaching. I don't know what number this is. We're going on 3 years of coaching. That's amazing. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. I didn't think when I started this that the group would grow to be as big as it is. We have over 5,000 people in the Facebook group. That's so cool. And all right, I'm in a little bit of a different place today. We're visiting friends, and there's a studio in the basement. So I'm using the studio that's in the basement. So things are a little bit different. I'm hoping that it all works. Let me know if there are any technical issues, if you can't see me or hear me. We're going to wait a little bit for people to show up and then jump into the Facebook group like we normally do. There's a little bit of housekeeping stuff. Let's see, I did a post in the group with that information. So here, I'll throw this up on the screen for you guys to see while I talk about it. Hey, Jorg, Axel, Quentin. Hello, hello, hello. All right, so I'm going to share. Hey, John. Yeah, it's nice to have a professional setup. I hope this works. I've got to do something else. Hold on. All right. All right, I think I have to, let's see if this works. All right, I got to try that again. All right, we got a lot of people showing up. Hey, Greg, Rasmus, Matt, Suna, Chris, Jakob, Ragnar. Good to have you guys here. All right, I got to see. So like I said, I'm using my friend's studio, and there we go. Yeah. Okay. So little bit of just housekeeping before we start. So these are ways that you can improve your windsurfing this summer. I want to know what you're working on this summer. What in your windsurfing life is your main goal for this summer? I hope you're looking forward to a windy summer. I know that I am. I'm looking forward to getting in the water in the Canary Islands, in Denmark. Those are my main spots for this summer. And I want to know where you're getting in the water and what you're working on. And then if you want to jumpstart that process and improve more quickly, the easiest way to do it, and it's free, is in this group. So make a post. If you haven't made a post yet, I invite you to make a post. Everyone is welcome. There's no question that's too simple. You can do a post, you can ask a question, you can post a photo or a video. It's all welcome. This is the easiest, cheapest way to improve your windsurfing this summer. After that, you can join the live stream like you guys are all doing. And then for a limited time, I'm going to do one-on-one coaching. So you can see the link in the Facebook group. You can sign up for it there. If you want to support the live stream, the easiest way to do that is through the think tank, which you can sign up. The link is in here. And then there are still a few spaces left in Denmark, the masterclass week 1. Week 2, there's a wait list. So you can sign up for the wait list. All of that information is here. It's in the Facebook group. So it should be pretty straightforward and easy to figure out. All right. So with that admin stuff out of the way, I'm going to jump in and just get right into it. So I'm going to do, because this is a little bit of a different setup. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of back and forth with my head, trying to keep track of everything. Cool. John got on the water. John sailed a bit of devil's tack, bump and jump. John, how is this your first time sailing this year? I know, John, you had a big break over the winter. How many sessions have you had so far this year? Ragnar sailed a couple days in a row. That's awesome. Some small waves. Greg, did we say hi to Greg? Hey, Greg. Matt is saying that there's not much wind this year. I guess that's what you mean, Matt, right? Getting on the water is the goal. Yeah, I wonder, is there a little bit of wind? Like if we came up with some light wind exercises, Matt, would that be something that would be fun so that you could get on the water and say 8 knots? Or is there not even 8 knots? Is it just dead calm? All right, I'm going to get into the Facebook group. So first up, we've got a question from Adam, and the question is, I've been sailing 5 batten wave sails up until recently when I bought a Simmer blacktip. Great sail and feeling, but looking for a complete range. He's not sure between the 4 and 5 batten sails. He mainly sails in cold white and in Sweden, and he's looking to improve his wave riding. Just learned how to forward. So this is a bit of a complicated question, and it's one I think that's often answered incorrectly, because the truth is that there isn't a hard and fast rule that says 4 batten sails are this, 5 batten sails are this. There are some similarities, but it really depends more on the brand of sail and the way that the sail is designed rather than whether it's 4 or 5 battens. So I can really only speak to the Ezzy sails because that's what I work on and design and test. The 4 batten sail is lighter. It's super light, one of the lighter sails on the market, and very maneuverable. And we're designing that sail for high performance wave riding. So we want it to be maneuverable and easy to move around in the hands. And that's an aspect of the sail that we've been working on in the last year as well in the development. The Zeta, which is our 5 batten sail, is more locked in feeling. It has a vinyl window. It's a little bit heavier, more this sort of locked in, stable feeling, uh, comfortable, kind of like a Cadillac cruising on the water. We've got a nice suspension feeling, but it's less easy to move around. It's maybe a little bit more free ridey feeling. It's definitely not a free ride sail, it's a wave sail, but compared to our 4 batten sail, so that's the feeling. And I prefer between those two sails, and I love sailing our 5 batten sail, but I prefer the 4 batten in all conditions because it's lighter, it's more maneuverable, and it does what I want it to do. So, like I said, it really depends on the designs of the sails more than whether it's 4 or 5 battens. So, you've got to make that choice yourself and test, test, test. So if you can get an opportunity to try some other sales, I think that's probably your best bet. All right. So John answered us. He said he had 2 sessions and he's rusty, but hopefully that rust is going to wash right off. Hey, Greg. Greg sailed the wingboard and hoping to get on the waveboard. I think that what's your weight, Greg? I don't think that weight is a huge factor for 4 or 5 battens. It depends. Maybe over 100 kilos. Maybe then the sail is moving around a lot with your weight. But, I fluctuate between, say, 85 and 90 kilos, and I'm fine on the 4 batten sails. And a lot of the other sailors, too. Brasinho is not light. All right. Let's get into the next question. So here's my post. All right, next up. This is an interesting post from Deshaun. I kind of don't know how. Those of you who have already seen this post will know what I'm talking about, and everyone else who hasn't seen it is going to know in a second. Deshaun, this is a weird post, and it's not bad. I'm going to kind of skip to the spoilers. We're going to go through your text, but you wrote a long text, but I skip to the spoilers. I just want everyone to check out this video of the conditions that he's been getting. And so this is apparently a spot somewhere in Europe. And I have no idea where this is. This is the longest European wave I think I've ever seen. There's a spot in Portugal, which has wind from the right, that looks kind of similar to this. But it could be this spot in Portugal, and then the footage is flipped horizontally to protect, because he doesn't want to say where it is, to protect the spot. So there is a spot I know in Portugal that the locals want to keep secret, and the it looks kind of like this, but it's the other way around, so it'll be flipped. But this is just amazing. I mean, I am just so surprised at this wave. I mean, where is this wave? This is apparently, if we can believe Dejan, somewhere in Europe. I mean, this is insane. Look at how many turns he's getting. What is going on here? What is going on? This is, does anyone know where this is? Do we have some do we have some wisdom in the comments? It's apparently not Peru. So Christoph is saying Peru. Apparently it's not Peru, but I mean the location here, I mean wherever it is, I mean this is insane. Let's watch another wave. I mean, why is that not playing? Um, I don't know what's going on here. Let's watch another one. Can I make this full screen? There we go. I mean, this is just insane, this spot. I mean, look at this wave. This is apparently somewhere in Europe. So Greg, I'd say that, so you're 94 kilos. I think 4-batten sails are fine. I'd say you're sort of starting to approach the edge, maybe where you would want to consider a 5-batten sail, because you are putting a lot of force on it, right? Which then causes the sail to twist more. And so then the stability of the 5 battens would be useful. But like I said, you really want to test. I think that it would make a difference. Oh, so Rasmus is saying that there's a wave in Faro that is similar to this. And Ben has talked about this with me before. And yeah, so there's apparently a wave in Faro that Ben says is the best wave in Europe that is port tack. It could be this. So my bet is it's either the wave I know in Portugal and the footage is flipped around, or it's the Faro wave. I don't know where else it could be. It's amazing wherever it is. All right. Hey, Oliver, welcome to the stream. So Oliver's got a question. Can I talk quickly about flipping the sail when sailing clue first? How do you decrease the power so that the sail doesn't flip so brutally? Good question. One thing that you can do is move your hand that's close to the mast closer to the mast. So your old front hand, new backhand, if that hand is by your harness lines and the sail flips, it's going to torque your wrist. It's going to be really difficult. If you shimmy that hand down so that it's closer to the boom, right? So it's around the bend in the boom, and then you let go with that backhand and transition, the flip is going to be less radical on your wrist. The other thing that you can do is get low. And this is something that is really a good technique for gusty conditions when you're sailing in the waves, for when you're exiting tacks, for any time where you need to stabilize. And Oliver, your example is exactly that. And what you can do is you get really low, and you want to be sort of vertically low, sort of hanging from the boom with pressure going down on your mast hand down into the board and helping to stabilize it. And what you can do is you put your chin on your chest and really get low, and think about being vertically low. You don't want to be hanging out, vertically low, and then you have all your weight and power to help pull down the sail. So those two things will really help with the control when you're coming out of a clue first and flipping the sail. So to recap, the first one is moving that hand, the hand that's close to the mast, closer to the mast, and getting low, that hanging low position, which is a stability position. I use that all the time. If I'm going out in the surf and there's gusty wind and there's white waters hitting me and it's not stable, I get low like that, and that helps me get out. All right. Hey, Jeff. Thanks for joining us. We found this. So, Jeff, you might find this interesting. This is a post about a spot that he doesn't want to say where it is, which is fine. I'm not, I don't have any problems with that. And here I've got I've got to just, um, oops. Hmm. Sorry. I'm just having trouble getting the window back. All right, let's see if I can get this. I've got two screens. I've got a screen in front of me. Huh. Okay. All right, I just got to open a new window and do it from there because I don't know how to reel that thing back in. Not a problem. Just takes a second. Let me get this loaded up again. And like I said, this is pretty crazy where this spot is. So here, all right, I got to share the new window. Just a second. All right, there, you guys should be able to see this. Hey, Luis. So we've got a spot. We're trying to figure out where this spot is. It looks absolutely amazing. I mean, just look at these waves, look at these conditions. And so this is a post from Dejan, who had the best wave sailing of his life. No wonder you had the best wave sailing of your life. Look at these conditions. I mean, this wave is going on and on and on and on. And we're trying to figure out where this is. We've got two hypotheses. The first is a spot near Faro, and the second is a spot in Portugal that's been flipped. So the video has been mirrored to protect the spot's identity. And yeah, it looks awesome. I'm just amazed watching this video. I want to know where this is. I want to go there. I want to know how often it works. If it is the spot in Portugal, I have been there, and it does kind of look like that spot. But there are a few things in the video that don't look like it. So I don't know if this is just an angle that is different. But the spot I sailed in Portugal had a lot of rocks in front of the wave, and I don't see any rocks in front of the wave here. So it makes me think it's not that spot. We don't have a lot of information, but pretty awesome. Which spot? So Jeff is saying it looks like the spot that Thomas Traversa sailed, but flipped. Which spot was that, Jeff? All right, I want to hear what spot you mean, and then we're gonna get into this long text. So Dejan, thank you for your kind words. And so he's been on a vacation, windsurfing vacation for a month, and he says, "Don't ask where because he promised he won't tell." Yeah, the best windsurfing vacation in his life. Yeah, we can tell. Like, look at the video. And he finally had great conditions every day and was motivated. Yeah, it looks awesome. He's still there. So he's there for another 2 weeks and he wants more progress. Uh, yeah, you're a lucky dude. I mean, this looks awesome. I want to know where this is. I mean, this is like the best kept secret in Europe, these waves, or it doesn't happen very often. I don't know, but I'm pretty blown away. All right, so he's got a lot of questions, and let's get through them and answer as many as we can. So he's asking about boom and bass settings. So what I really recommend with the boom and the bass is to experiment with it. You don't want to set it and forget it. That can be tempting, and there are heuristics that we can follow, but the most important thing is to test, 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 and never stop testing and experimenting. Even once you get the gear dialed in, you still want to play with your boom height, maybe sometimes play with a different foot strap position, because that helps you stay in tune with your gear. It helps your body not get stuck in a rut, because if we always had the exact same boom height, the exact same everything, the exact same board and sail, we can get stuck in a rut because we're not used to anything different. And then you suddenly move your boom height a centimeter and it feels crazy and you can't even sail. And we don't want that. So by continually testing, continually changing, it forces our body to adapt more. And it's my belief that the more you do that, also the better you can adapt to other conditions as well. So it's a really important thing to be doing. And it also helps you adapt to new equipment, because otherwise you have this equipment that you've been sailing it on one way forever. And then you finally get a new board or a new sail or a new boom, and then you can't sail and it feels super weird for whatever, 2 weeks because it's so different. But if you're adjusting like this, you can more easily hop onto other gear, which makes it easier to test other gear. Because if you're so used to your one thing and your one setting and you always sail it that way, and then you go to test another board or boom or sail, it's going to feel crazy different and not good because it's not what you're used to. But if you're used to adjusting on your own stuff, then you're more used to sailing slightly different things, and that adjustment period will be a lot less on the new equipment. So I think it's a pretty important factor. Now, that said, there are some heuristics. The higher your boom, the earlier planing your rig is going to be. The lower your boom, the more you can get it leaned over, and that can help in your wave riding to get really leaned over on the bottom turns and really hang down on the cutbacks. You want to experiment though and find what feels right for you. Sometimes you might want it higher, sometimes you might want it lower. And I'm always playing with my boom. Even in a single session, I'll have it where I normally have it, and then I'll feel like, oh, what does it feel like a little bit higher, after 30 minutes, or a little bit lower? And I think that's important. For your bass, uh, this is something that I play with a lot. When I get a new board, I'm moving the base around, and a change of a centimeter makes a huge difference. You can really feel the difference of a centimeter makes. And if it's a new board to you, I'd probably start in the middle and work your way back. Most boards, you probably don't want to be too far forward from center. That's probably, in my experience, too far forward. But again, it really depends on your weight, the board, and the circumstances. In general, if you're moving it farther back, then you're going to be sinking the tail more, which can help for a more turny feel, can make it a little bit slower to get planing. In strong wind, it can make the nose feel like it's sort of roaming around. So sometimes in strong wind, I like to move the mast track farther forward to keep the nose down. It can also help to move it farther forward to get some forward rail engagement in the bottom turn. So there are reasons for both, but again, you want to experiment with it a little bit. Now, moving the mast base around isn't something that I would experiment with as much as the boom. Like, once I find something that feels good, I kind of leave it in that area, unless I feel like I'm in a rut and then I want something different, and then I will move it because it makes the gear feel so different. Um, so, all right, so we've got some posts from Jeff saying either there's raw number 3 from Thomas or Ben's secret spot. All right, I'm gonna do some research. Yeah, Fiji. Fiji looks awesome. I'm not going, but I'll be watching. So for the foot straps, I'm not really sure what you mean by this, station. So if you're watching, I'd love for you to expand on what you mean. I'm not sure what you mean about where you're setting the straps. Oh, I guess these are wave sizes. I thought these were references to foot strap positions when I first read this. Again, I think with the straps, one of the most important things is the width. You want to make sure that the width is wide enough. You don't want your straps too narrow for wave riding. I've got those numbers and posts somewhere in the Facebook group. We don't have to go over it again. So I recommend digging that up and looking into it to make sure you're wide enough on the straps. And then, yeah, you want to feel comfortable. So I tend to go a little bit farther back when it's onshore and a little bit farther forward when it's down the line. I feel like that works for the boards that I'm riding. When it's onshore, it can help kind of sink the tail, pivot around by being a little bit farther back. And then when it's down the line, it helps me sort of with the forward drive, being a little bit more forward. For the fins, I don't really change my fin sizes very much. I like 10s on the side and 18 in the center, but I do recommend going bigger in the center if you need more stability in big waves or in strong currents, and then going to a 19 or even a 20. And I don't recommend changing the side fins. I think you want to stick with the same side fins if you're on a thruster setup or a quad setup. And I would just change the rear fins in the quad setup if that's the case and go a little bit bigger. But I tend to go on an 18 and everything. All right, so now let's get into the technique. Hopefully that's enough talk about the equipment. If you have, again, more specific questions, put it in the comments of this post. Like, this is a super long post with a lot of questions, so I'm kind of going through it quickly and answering what seems the most relevant, but if there's something that you feel like needs more attention, put it in the comments, okay? All right, so riding technique. He feels like he can't put the sail down in the bottom turn like a pro, which would allow him to make faster, sharper turns even in stronger winds. Doesn't know what he's doing wrong. All right, so we can look at the video and talk about the technique. Maybe he has the boom too high, or maybe the mast position is too far forward, extreme forward position. It could be too far forward. If it's all the way forward, I would maybe move it back a bit and see how it feels. The waves are not that fast here, but you can still lie down the bottom turn. And my height, I'm not that tall. I'm like 170. Oh, I don't really know in centimeters. Am I 175? I'm like 5'9", whatever that is. All right. So I want to get into the footage, but this is really a lot. Like this question, I would love for you, Dejan, to sort of clarify your question, because this is really a lot of text. I'm not totally sure. It's getting pretty complicated. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking in terms of category 1, 2, 3, 4 videos. So let's watch the video. I'm going to give some comments, and then where you want clarity, asking the questions, okay? All right, so beautiful, beautiful footage, beautiful place. Yeah. Looks beautiful. So here the wave is a little bit slow, but very active. I like the rail work there. It quickens up again. Getting some speed. So here, if we look at the bottom turn, and meanwhile, lay down bottom turns are not necessary. So it's a technique. It looks cool, but it's not necessary for a good bottom turn. You can do a good bottom turn without laying the sail down. Just a few things here that we see in the bottom turn. You want a wider grip. So moving this backhand back quite a ways. So it's grabbing here. It could be grabbing back here. Will give you a lot more control on the sail. I like this body position, leaning forward. Again, having that wide grip will give you a lot more control on the sail and will help put it into a more lie down position. And then the second thing, so we don't want to focus on too many things, right? We want to have technique that we can implement on the water. And in order for that to be the case, it can't be too complicated. And so wide grip on the bottom turn. And then the second thing is aiming for a more U-shaped bottom turn. So for a tighter bottom turn. So your head now is looking down here. I want you looking more up on the wave and trying to go more vertical. I think those two things will help a lot. We're going to quickly watch a little bit more of the other footage. But for now, I think those are two bits of technique that will make a big difference. Oops, what did we do? All right, windy day. So yeah, wider grip on the boom will give you control, will help pull in the sail. So you're sheeted in more of that sort of down the line, lay down look that I think you're going for. You could also move your front hand a little bit farther back. But the body position looks okay. So wide grip, and then instead of looking way down here, right, like your head is looking down the line, look up here. Think of your bottom turns like a U. And just those two things will make a big difference. Again, we don't want to give you too much to think about, because then you won't be able to implement it. You do a good job of picking up speed, good job of getting the rail engaged. You could try with the mass track a little bit farther back. It does look like the mass is a little bit forward, but it's really hard for me to say that not knowing the board. But I would recommend trying it a little bit farther back. Yeah, so those three things, so that's a nice carving cutback. But I think those three things will make a big difference. So one, move the mass track a little bit farther back. Two, wide grip on the bottom turn, really wide grip, move that backhand back. And then think about those bottom turns as going in a U shape. And so go more vertical. Don't look down the line. Look up the wave. Yeah. So those are the main things. All right. Justo ask, what is the lightest wind I've done a Vulcan in? What gear did you use? We've got a couple comments here. Probably knots. But when I was filming for the Vulcan course, I was on a 5.5 on my 88-liter waveboard, not planing, pumping up to a plane just to do the Vulcan and doing them. So yeah, about 10 knots, I would say 10 to 12 knots. All right. Dana Miller posted these pictures from the Oregon coast, and I just want to look at these because I think not many people know how good the conditions are. This is good technique for getting out. One of the most important things getting out over whitewaters is the angle of the board. You want to make sure, like Dana is doing here, that the board is angled directly perpendicular with the line of power of the whitewater. The other point that this photo illustrates is that getting out is a game of centimeters. If you're here, there's not a lot of power pushing back against you. If they're here, there's a lot of power pushing back against you. So if you can go from here to here, you're going to get out. And if you don't, you might not. The wave might clobber you. Beautiful conditions, Dana. Looks fun. It's been years since I've been to the Oregon coast, and these photos make me want to go back. Look at these beautiful waves. Yeah. I don't know when I can go back, but want to. Eric has been working on Taka practice by doing long bottom turns and then sort of hitting the lip and going into an upwind 360, which is cool. Looks like there's really not much wind for it, but I love the enthusiasm, Eric. Awesome. All right, next up, we've got a post from Zach, and he's working on carbon. Let me turn off that sound. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been in Waddell Creek as well, Christoph. I like sailing Waddell. It's pretty fun. All right, so here's a carving 360, and gets into it, but then doesn't make it around. And there are a few things that we can change in this that should make it make improvement happen pretty fast. The first is you want to start going way downwind. So at the moment you're starting sort of looks like a little bit of an upwind angle, and then you go into the carve downwind. So you want to really start this maneuver going downwind. So you're sailing straight downwind, not carving, just downwind sailing, and then go into the carve. And when you go into the carve, bring that sail really far back. And so here you've got the sail sort of in front of you still going into the carve, kind of like a bottom turn or a jibe. The carving 360 does not feel like a bottom turn or a jibe. It feels like you're banging that sail way back to the tail of the board, and your body is sort of leaning in front of the mast of the sail. I'm going to get an example in a second, but really pull that sail back and start downwind, and then you're going to get a lot farther around. And so what I would like you to do is implement that technique, Zach, and then get some video and we can talk about the next steps. So there's a there's a video. I saw that we can look at from Victor Fernandez. Yeah, so here's a good example video. So you can see he's going way downwind. I mean, here, see, he's sailing downwind before starting the carve. And then when he starts the carve, the sail comes way back. So it's not forward, it's back towards the tail of the board. And it almost feels like the body is leaning over in front of the mast. And this is a beautiful one. He comes out just perfect. So here's another one in slow motion. Again, sailing downwind, really, really downwind. You can go way more downwind than you think. And then you pull, when you go into the carve, you really pull that sail back towards the tail of the board. You guys can't see the clip. Oh, okay. Let me, why does that not work? All right. Okay. That should work, right? All right, there we go. So you can see beautiful 360. You can see that he goes way downwind at the start. So even before, so here he's starting the carve, but this is before he starts the carve. He's sailing way downwind. He's got a lot of speed, a lot of power. He's got a nice power position in his body. He's low. This is another one. Get low before you go is such a good heuristic when you want to put out power through your legs. So get low before you go. Downwind with speed, way downwind, more downwind than you think. And then you start the carve just like you're doing, Zach, and then you pull in the sail back, way back towards the tail of the board. Come around the carve, and then let's see where you get to. So I think implementing those three things, low before you go way downwind, and then pull the sail really back towards the tail of the board as you go into the carve. And then let's see how far you're getting around. You might just start making them. And if you don't, then we'll talk about some other bits of technique. All right, let's get back to the Facebook group. So do you guys like this setup? This is a little bit of a different setup. This is a fully professional setup. Normally I've just got my laptop at home, and this is fully professional. Do you like it? Do you notice a difference? All right. This is Thomas in Pozo. Hey, Thomas. And so he wanted to improve his forward loop. It's not his most comfortable move, and he wants to be more confident with the height. He tries to go late without a kamikaze endo rotation and doesn't want to break his foot. Yeah, you and me both. He knows that he doesn't turn flat enough, but he doesn't know why. And he's not looking over his shoulder. Look down, which makes him go more vertical. Here's an example. Turn that off. All right, so here we go. Yeah, Christoph, this is like a fully perfect setup. But I have to get used to it. There's a few things that are kind of funny. Like I have a screen in front of me, which I wanted to do the footage review on, but it stopped working. So I could theoretically do the footage review, but then also be looking at you guys at the same time. But that's not working right now for some reason. All right, so here's the video of the forward. So you could take off a little bit more upwind and also try to get a little bit more height. So, which this ramp is not going to give you that much height. So you want to be looking for other ramps. Like I think really the key to stalled forwards is going off back loop ramps to do the nice stalled forward. But again, it's scary. So you have to work with that fear in that process. The second thing is you really want to get that sail pushed into the wind, which helps give you control and keep that rotation horizontal. One thing that you can try, Thomas, is not having such a wide grip as you take off, having a little bit more of a narrow grip, taking off kind of upwind, pushing the sail into the wind as you stall. And then when you're ready to do the rotation, you look back, reach back, and then you're just pulling in and rotating. It can be difficult because you have so much muscle memory for this maneuver, and changing that obviously can be difficult. Um, yeah, so Rasmus is saying the sail is not moved across enough in front before sheeting in. Um, Quinton is saying that he's afraid to send this move. Mindset is hard. He always sheets out at the end. Yeah, it's difficult. I've been working a lot on learning how to coach fear. And one of the things that really resonates with me is that you shouldn't try to avoid fear. You shouldn't get away from fear. You shouldn't move away from fear. Fear is natural. It's a part of you. It's part of your body trying to save you, help you survive. But you just need to ride the fear and be comfortable with the fear. And so the more you're comfortable with the fear, rather than trying to turn off the fear, the better you can act while you're experiencing the fear. And so when you're scared, rather than trying not to be afraid or trying to do something different, think of just riding that fear, experiencing that fear, and just feeling what it feels like and existing in that fear, with the goal that then you can do the move while still being scared. And that's part of the fun of this sport too, is riding that fear. If it wasn't scary, it wouldn't be fun. All right, so we've got some good tips here from people. Thomas, if you're in the comments, I'd love to hear a little bit more. So again, to recap what I said, I think you want a little bit of a different ramp if you're trying to go for high stalled forwards. And then it's really important to move that sail across the body. That's a big one. Rasmus brought it up. I brought it up. And it really makes a huge difference. When you move that sail into the wind across the body, it gives you a lot of control. All right. I asked this question about Olympic windsurfing. Really interesting to see the responses. I like watching the foiling. It's definitely more exciting than the RSX. All right, so Hans posted this about stalled forwards, because we were talking about stalled forwards last week as well. And I was saying that it's really important to go upwind and to move the sail across the body. And you see both in this picture sequence. You can see taking off upwind like a back loop, boop, 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 boop. And then the sail starts to come across the body here, across, then it's really across the body here, pushed into the wind, and then looks back, falls over the shoulder, and lands. Easy peasy. All right. Is that it? I thought we had a few others. Let me just double check. That might be it. But I think there's a few other posts that we didn't get to. So let me just refresh this page. And oops. Let's do newest activity. All right. We already talked about the 5-batten sail. We talked about the Vulcans. We talked about these epic waves somewhere in Europe. Here are my coaching things to help you get the best out of your windsurfing summer. You can find this. I'm doing one-on-one coaching with Zoom, the think tank, which is the best way to support these live streams. And I am posting in there, adding articles or ideas that might be interesting. And we sometimes do group Zooms. We're going to do one this week. And then you can join a masterclass week in Denmark. There's a form application for week 1 and for week 2 to join the waitlist. All right. Here's Sel practicing his no-handed sailing. I like the camera setup too. It seems like you've improved it. So this is awesome. Sel wants to work on his no-handed sailing. We're going to do a competition. I've got to figure out how it's going to work, but we're going to do a competition, longest no-handed sailing challenge. And so Sel is already training for that. He's trying to get up to 15 seconds by the end of the summer. Awesome. I love it. This is a good challenge. This is a great challenge to do. Work on your no-handed sailing. Make sure your sail is rigged right. All right, we already talked about this. And this is an old post, forward post from Alistair. And he posted an update, which is super cool. I love the update. So I love it when we get to see an update. And so Alistair was having trouble with his forwards, and look at this awesome one. Head back. Look at that head looking back over the shoulder. Look at this is like just textbook perfect. Head over the shoulder, looking in the direction of his rotation. See, he's spotting the landing. I know it's confusing to look over that shoulder, the rear shoulder when you're going forward, but you can see here that that allows Alistair here to see his landing, right? He's going to land there. So it is looking in the way that he's rotating, and boom, look at that. Sails away. Perfect, beautiful forward loop. All right. We already talked about the carving 360s, talked about this post, talked about Thomas's post. This is an old post. This is a funny picture. I've used stuff like that to change a car tire before. And we already talked about this post. Yeah, so I think we're caught up. So we are caught up. I've got a few things to help you with your windsurfing this summer. Posted them in the group. We already went over them. Otherwise, I hope you have a windy week. I'm going to see you again next week, Sunday. I'm not going to have this beautiful setup, but I've learned something from it. I mean, what you guys don't see is how many lights are around me, which really helps. And then instead of the webcam, there's like a real professional camera in front of me. And then I've got this nice mic. I can't do this full setup in my apartment, but maybe I could get the mic or something else just to help make my setup at home a little bit more professional. But thank you guys for tuning in. Oh, Jorg, hey. He's was at the Defi on his 6.5 and 7.5 Lion. Awesome. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. Thank you for showing up. I want to hear what you're doing this summer too, what your plans are for windsurfing this summer. So answer my post, and then in that same post are links to ways that I can help you with your journey. And some of them are paid, like the one-on-one coaching or the Denmark clinics, and some of them are free, like the Facebook group or the live stream. So I want you to succeed and have the most fun that you can this summer. All right, guys, take care and have a windy week. I will see you in the Facebook group and next week, Sunday. All right, signing off.